Blue and green lightsabers represent the two dominant philosophies of the Jedi Order. Blue for Jedi Guardians, who prioritized combat prowess and protection of the innocent, and green for Jedi Consulars, who emphasized wisdom, meditation, and diplomatic solutions, together forming the philosophical backbone of Jedi training for thousands of years. Kyber crystals begin as clear stones until a force sensitive attunes to them, and the color they become reflects the wielder's nature and connection to the Force. Blue crystals naturally attune to those focused on justice, loyalty, and duty, symbolizing righteousness and hope, while green crystals resonate with Jedi who seek growth, harmony, and deeper Force connection. Famous blue lightsaber wielders include Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Luke Skywalker, each embodying the Guardian's commitment to protecting others despite personal sacrifice, while legendary green wielders like Yoda and Qui-Gon Jinn challenged the Jedi establishment and pursued wisdom through unconventional paths. The strategic difference is crucial. Blue lightsabers are naturally more aggressive in combat with higher energy output, making them ideal for frontline combat and force-intensive techniques, while green blades operate at lower resonance frequencies, granting superior control and precision, making them perfect for lightsaber combat emphasizing technique over raw power. Together, blue and green form a complementary pair, guardians and consulars representing the balance the Jedi attempted to maintain between action and contemplation, duty and wisdom, force and meditation. Red lightsabers represent the Sith philosophy of raw passion, fury, and domination. Crystals that began as normal Kyber crystals but were corrupted and bled through dark side force manipulation, transforming them from their natural state into weapons of rage and conquest. The bleeding process is intentionally violent. A Force user channels dark side energy into the crystal, overwhelming its natural attunement and forcing it into submission, creating a blade that burns with an unnaturally crimson hue that reflects the wielder's rage and hunger for power. Legendary red wielders include Darth Vader, Palpatine, Kylo Ren, and virtually every Sith Lord throughout history, each wielding red blades as symbols of their rejection of Jedi principles and embrace of dark side domination. Purple lightsabers occupy the philosophical middle ground between blue and red, created when a Kyber crystal attunes to a wielder, balanced between Jedi dedication and dark side temptation. A rare phenomenon representing those who walk the razor's edge between light and darkness. The most famous purple wielder is Mace Windu, who explicitly requested purple to distinguish himself from the Jedi Order's conventions, representing his willingness to use aggressive Force techniques like Force Lightning while maintaining his commitment to the Jedi Code. Purple blades grant superior combat versatility. They combine the power of red with the control of blue, allowing Windu to match Palpatine's lightning-infused combat style without succumbing to dark side corruption, making purple the rarest and most philosophically significant lightsaber color in Star Wars history. White lightsabers represent redemption, purification, and the rejection of both Jedi and Sith dogma, created by a Force-sensitive individual healing a corrupted red Kyber crystal through meditation, love, and the light side of the Force, literally transforming a weapon of darkness into an instrument of peace. The process of creating a white blade requires extraordinary emotional strength. The wielder must accept the crystal's dark history, acknowledge the suffering it has caused, and genuinely forgive both the crystal and themselves, channeling compassion so pure it literally burns away the corruption and returns the crystal to a neutral, purified state. Ahsoka Tano is the definitive white lightsaber wielder, using her blades after leaving the Jedi Order and forging her own path independent of both the Jedi and Sith, symbolizing her journey from Anakin's Padawan through her trials to becoming a fully realized Force user, answerable only to her own conscience. The black lightsaber, most famously the dark saber, represents ancient corruption and the consolidation of power through conquest, forged over 1,000 years ago as a weapon of dominance and subsequently wielded by Mandalorian rulers and dark side practitioners who valued control above all else. The darksaber's unique physics, creating a distinctive flat, broad blade that produces a distinctive sound, reflect its singular purpose: not to fight multiple opponents like conventional lightsabers, but to dominate and overcome singular powerful foes through overwhelming force and presence. Together, white and black represent opposite ends of the redemption spectrum, white showing what becomes possible when corruption is healed with love, black showing what results when corruption is embraced as destiny. Yellow lightsabers represent Jedi Temple Guards and other Sentinel-class Force users who balanced combat prowess with intellectual pursuit, occupying a unique niche between the warrior guardians and philosopher consulars. Created when a Kyber crystal attunes to a wielder, combining discipline, curiosity, and protective instinct, yellow blades are extremely rare in canon material, but represent an important philosophical position. Those Jedi dedicated to protecting knowledge itself, serving as sentinels against dark side corruption and keepers of Jedi secrets and forbidden lore. The Temple Guard lightsabers are typically double-bladed staffs with yellow energy, symbolizing their role as protectors of the Jedi Temple's interior sanctum, where the most dangerous and powerful Force artifacts were stored. Orange lightsabers are even rarer, appearing primarily in Legends material and representing Jedi or Force users balancing aggression with compassion, mixing the Guardian's combat focus with the Consular's emotional intelligence. A wielder who fights fiercely but never loses sight of mercy and understanding. Barisofi famously considered constructing an orange lightsaber before her fall to darkness, suggesting that orange represents Jedi who question doctrine while remaining committed to the Order's ideals, willing to challenge authority but not reject it entirely. Both yellow and orange are psychological anomalies in the Force user spectrum. Yellow requires intellectual discipline, most warriors lack, while orange demands emotional maturity most aggressive combatants never achieve, making both colors exceptionally rare and representing Force users who transcended the traditional Jedi/Sith binary entirely. Bronze lightsabers exist primarily in Legends material and represent Kyber crystals, attuning to wielders with unique Force connections or unconventional philosophies that didn't align with standard Jedi color categories. Bronze blades carry a distinctive metallic hue and are theorized to result from Kyber crystals partially resisting full attunement to their wielder, creating an unstable midpoint between natural crystal state and complete Force synchronization, a phenomenon typically avoided because the resulting blade is less reliable in combat but potentially grants enhanced Force sensitivity or unique abilities. The rarity of bronze lightsabers meant that few Force users ever successfully wielded them, and those who did often possessed unconventional Force training or unique circumstances that prevented standard crystal attunement. Copper lightsabers are similarly exotic, representing Kyber crystals that attune to wielders with exceptional emotional turbulence or conflicted philosophical commitments. Force users caught between competing ideologies or emotional states that create crystal attunement patterns unlike any other in recorded Jedi history. Both bronze and copper represent the outer boundaries of Kyber crystal attunement, demonstrating that Force users and their weapons exist on a spectrum far more complex than the traditional blue-green-red categorization suggests. The existence of these rare colors implies that Kyber crystals are sentient, or at least responsive organisms, capable of producing virtually unlimited color variations based on the unique psychological and spiritual state of their wielder, meaning that truly unique individuals might create lightsaber colors never before seen in the galaxy. Cyan and turquoise lightsabers represent extreme rarity in both canon and Legends material, occupying the spectrum between pure blue and green, and typically appearing only in Force users with extraordinarily unique psychological profiles or exceptional Force attunement abilities. Cyan lightsabers, a bright electric blue-green hybrid, emerge when a Kyber crystal attunes to a wielder who combines the Guardian's protective instinct with the Consular's philosophical wisdom in almost perfectly balanced proportions, creating a blade that possesses both aggressive capability and meditative control. Turquoise lightsabers represent an even more specific attunement, a Force user whose connection to the Force transcends traditional Jedi categorization entirely, someone who views themselves not as a guardian or consular, but as something entirely separate, perhaps a healer or scholar, or unique spiritual guide whose purpose defies conventional military or philosophical structures. The extreme rarity of these colors means that virtually no famous historical wielders are definitively associated with cyan or turquoise blades in mainstream canon, though various legend sources suggest isolated Force users throughout history have created these colors. The existence of cyan and turquoise demonstrates that Kyber crystal attunement exists on a continuous spectrum rather than discrete categories, suggesting that Force users and their weapons, co-create lightsaber colors through their unique resonance, making every Kyber crystal theoretically capable of producing a color never before witnessed in galactic history if attuned by the right force-sensitive individual at the right moment in their spiritual journey. Magenta lightsabers are theoretical constructs that appear in expanded Legends material and represent Kyber crystals, attuning to wielders with exceptionally rare force sensitivities or severe psychological trauma that creates unique crystal resonance patterns impossible to categorize within standard color spectrums. Magenta blades allegedly result from Kyber crystals attempting to attune to Force users simultaneously drawn to contradictory philosophies. Someone experiencing genuine love for both light and dark side practitioners, or a Force user with split personalities requiring the crystal to express multiple conflicting attunements simultaneously through a hybrid color reflecting internal psychological fragmentation. Unstable lightsabers represent a different phenomenon entirely. Kyber crystals that failed to fully attune to their wielders, or were deliberately corrupted in incomplete ways, resulting in blades that flicker, crackle, and destabilize during combat, with energy occasionally venting from the sides of the blade in dangerous, unpredictable patterns. Kylo Ren's crossguard lightsaber is the most famous unstable blade in canon, created by imperfectly bleeding a cracked Kyber crystal, producing a blade that burns with visible instability and requires constant energy management to prevent detonation. Unstable blades are paradoxically more powerful and more dangerous. They deliver greater damage output but are equally likely to injure their wielder through uncontrolled energy discharge, making them weapons for desperate Force users willing to sacrifice control for overwhelming power. Both magenta and unstable blades represent the limits of Kyber crystal attunement, demonstrating what happens when Force users push themselves beyond psychological balance or attempt to force crystals into attunements they naturally resist. Every lightsaber color across the entire spectrum, from the purest blue to the deepest red, from the rarest magenta to the most unstable corrupted blades, represents a visible manifestation of a Force user's internal spiritual state, philosophical commitment, and psychological profile at the moment of Kyber crystal attunement. The Kyber crystal is not merely a weapon component, but a sentient or semi-sentient organism capable of perceiving its wielder's deepest nature and expressing that nature through color, making lightsaber color one of the most honest reflections of a Force user's true self available in the entire galaxy. Blue lightsabers reveal protectors and guardians willing to fight for others. Green reveals philosophers and seekers of wisdom. Red reveals those consumed by rage and hunger for power. Purple reveals those brave enough to walk the edge between extremes. White reveals those capable of redemption and healing. Black reveals those pursuing dominance and control. Yellow and orange reveal those transcending traditional categories. Cyan and turquoise reveal those achieving perfect balance. And unstable blades reveal those willing to sacrifice control for power. This means that lightsaber color is not determined by arbitrary choice or Jedi rank, but by the wielder's authentic self. A Jedi cannot simply decide to wield a purple blade. The Kyber crystal will only produce purple for someone genuinely balanced between light and dark, making lightsaber color an impossible deception that immediately reveals truth about any Force user's character and intentions. Understanding lightsaber colors means understanding that the Force itself is fundamentally connected to identity, that weapons are extensions of spirit, and that even in a universe of mysticism and impossible power, authenticity cannot be faked.